Man, I've been having a really good day. I should check Twitter. Dungeons and Dragons. Tacos. Sushi. What is this nonsense? Asian characters eating a cup of noodles. Normal food just doesn't bother me. I drew the line a while ago, but we are in utter ridiculous territory now. Man, this seems like a really intellectual discussion. I need someone to tell me how I'm supposed to feel about this. Oh. Ask anyone on the playground at recess, and they will tell you that Dungeons and Dragons is awesome. But ever since the woke liberal activists put sushi and tacos in one picture in the player's handbook, Dungeons and Dragons has become communist and gay. Sushi is Asian food and is eaten by Asians. And based on my research into hundreds of hours of lesbian tentacle videos, I can conclude that Asians are all definitively gay. I want to make it clear that I do not hate Asian people. I love Asian people and have Asian people in my Dungeons and Dragons game. For example, I have Naruto, the honorable samurai who needs to reclaim his honor, and Lucy, my hot teenage slave. But the postmodern activists have pushed things too far with sushi. As for tacos, tacos are eaten by Mexicans. And in my opinion, Mexicans are... Oof, I thank God for the skip ad button. Look. Yeah, I could talk about how there are plenty of non-medieval foods that are represented fancy all the time, like potatoes and tomatoes and pumpkins and blah 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 blah. But I don't care. I'll just cap this discussion off by the simple fact that sushi is freaking delicious. The story takes place in my high school D&D club. The group is made up of me and 9 of my friends, but it used to have 10 players. The amount of players is a mini horror story on its own. Yeah, trust me, I know. I never shut up about it. Only 3 of the players are really important to the story. I already had a group, but there were a few people left in the club without a group. One of those players was Josh, who I have known since elementary school. For some backstory, he always had issues with controlling his temper, and when people found out about it in middle school, he was really badly bullied. I've always felt bad for him, but honestly, I didn't really want him in my group because I knew he would blow up over something. To make things worse, he has latched onto some incel beliefs and made everyone uncomfortable. He ended up in my group because he knew me and other groups got filled. In session 0, I made it really clear my boundaries about not wanting any sexual themes in my games, and he audibly sighed disappointedly. Hey fellow men out there, don't you hate it when you can't fulfill your sexual fantasies with strangers? It just drives me nuts! He wanted to make the stereotypical horny bard who goes around, tries to sleep with anyone that moves. After setting boundaries and theming for the campaign, we started character creation. We already had a bard in the party, and Josh was unwilling to try anything else. We ended up with 2 melee characters, and everyone else was a squishy backliner. Wait, 10 minus 2, that's 8. You had 8 squishy backliners? Nothing in this world can stand against my magic. I am invincible! We didn't finish character creation due to lack of time, so I gave everyone the resources to complete their characters on their own time. The next week, we continued character creation for backstories, and Josh didn't have a single new thing on his sheet, even though in the last session, I told him exactly what he needed to do. Then, he described his backstory. He was a tiefling bard with a tragic tale. He had no parents, and everyone hated him. He was also apparently the best bard to ever live. His entire goal was to get, and I quote, a super hot, submissive girlfriend. He was playing a complete edgelord and incel. I told him this would not fly, and he got mad and complained the rest of the session about how I wasn't letting him play what he wanted. The next week, everyone was ready to play, but his character still wasn't done, so I took his sheet and just did it for him. We finally got to playing, and while describing the starting tavern the party was in, he interrupted me to ask if there were any hot women. I told him not to interrupt, and he grumbled to himself for a while. He constantly interrupted me during the game. I had to stop the session multiple times to tell him to just stop. The session ended and everyone was already sick of him. I wanted to give him a chance, so I decided to implement a 3-strike rule. I feel like the constant interruptions are enough strikes for me, but The next few sessions went okay, except for him talking while I was, and then getting mad when other players did the same. Then Druid joined the game. Druid is one of my friends, and is pretty blunt. If something annoys him, he'll call it out. Him and Josh conflicted a lot. If Josh interrupted or had side conversations, Druid would call him out on it. This made Josh really angry. Whenever they clashed, I would de-escalate and tell both of them to cut it out. Eventually, Josh got so mad, he challenged Druid to PvP. Dude, how many strikes are we at right now? I think it's above 3. Normally, I would not allow PvP, but they both agreed. And Druid said that the fight was nothing personal. Someone died, it wouldn't affect the game, and that might be a good way to let off some steam. Boy, was he wrong. Bard, who at this point was really tired of Josh, casted Bane on him, which I shouldn't have allowed, but Josh was really getting on my nerves. For context, the party was level 2, and Druid was Circle of the Moon, while Josh only had support spells and sleep, which means he loses Circle of the Moon. Freaking ridiculous! They rolled initiative, and Josh rolled a nat 1. Druid went first, then used Wild Shape to turn into a bear and just multi-attacked. Druid crit on his bite attack. Most of Josh's health was gone before landing a claw that just nearly dropped him. Josh used his bonus action to heal himself and threw a dagger at Druid, missing. On his next turn, Druid hit him with a claw, bringing Josh down to 2 hit points. Then he crit again. This dropped Josh because it was a crit. It counted to 2 failed death saves. On Josh's turn, he rolled a 9 and failed his final save. This really set him off. We had agreed the death was not canon. He started yelling and punching the wall, saying that everyone was targeting him, and he didn't do anything wrong to deserve this. It's giving Wings of Redemption. Just take the L, guys. Your life will go better, trust me. Keep in mind, he was the one who wanted to do the PvP. It is just like Wings of Redemption. Bard tried to calm Josh down and took him somewhere else to help him calm down with another player, while I try to sort out what happened and try to do crowd control with the other player. Club ended, and while everyone was leaving, Bard told me that Josh tried to choke him out. Apparently, he said something along the lines of, "Hey man, it's fine, it wasn't really a fair fight, we agreed, it wouldn't affect anything in the campaign," and this made Josh even angrier that he lunged for Bard and tried to frickin' strangle him. Josh is pretty short and scrawny, so it didn't do much to Bard, but I decided he had to get kicked from the group. The next day at lunch, I talked to him privately, but within view of my group, so if anything went wrong, I'd have backup. I calmly told him that he was no longer allowed in our group because he tried to choke out Bard, and he did not take the news well. He grabbed his metal water bottle and slammed it so hard it dented. I left, and he continued to make a giant scene, and my other 2 friends who sat in the same area told me what happened, and I told them too. I made sure that no rumors would be spread. I asked one of the other DMs in DnD Club if Josh could join their group, and dude was like, yeah, this guy, he's your problem now. I told them why I kicked him out, and one of the DMs did give him a chance. The first thing he did that session was try to have sex with a robot dragon. The other DM kicked him, and we told the teacher in charge about what happened, and Josh was just banned from DnD Club. I know I messed up a lot along the way and feel like I could have prevented more of these issues, but yeah, that's really it. The campaign didn't get finished because there were so many people that it nearly became impossible to do anything in our 2-hour sessions. No happy ending for this one, fortunately. DLDR, until Edgelord causes issues and tries to PvP. When he loses, he tries to choke out another player and gets kicked from DnD Club. Okay, this guy is actually very similar to Wings of Redemption. If you don't know who he is, he's a YouTuber, was a YouTuber that existed in the early days of Call of Duty commentary YouTube, and he was a guy who wore his anger on his sleeve. Most notably, after he challenged fellow Call of Duty streamer Syndicate to a match, he lost, and that public meltdown would change the course of his life. A lot of people felt bad for him, and for good reason, but at the same time, Wings of Redemption also had his toxic traits. He lashed out at his friends, even when they were trying to help him out and support him. I mean, just like Josh's little battle with the Druid, if Wings of Redemption had just said, "Good game, man," and then moved on with his life, his whole career would have taken a very different path, but he decided to freak out instead. Look, anger is human, it's part of us, but letting it consume you like this doesn't do anything for anyone. The writer is correct. This person absolutely should have done more to prevent this. In fact, I think that this just enabled Josh's behavior and probably made it worse for him. Look, it's fine to feel bad for Josh, but I think this kind of pity acceptance just enables his bad behavior and just makes things worse for everybody around him and for him too. Just want to say, love your channel. It's a favorite amongst the TTRPG horror story channels on YouTube, and the music slaps. Hey, the composer, Vaughn, they're always in the description, and their music is awesome. Like, listen to this cracking beat. Listen to the beat. Anyway, figured I'd share my own mild horror story. I started playing D&D a few months before the virus and managed to get some 5 or 6 sessions under my belt as a player before life happened. The campaign sort of fizzled out. Eager to play more, I eventually decided to take up the reins myself and start DMing. I hadn't heard the concept of Session 0, but ended up doing one anyway because all but one of my players were completely new to D&D, so we got together in person to build characters and talk about the campaign. After 2 sessions, all but one of the players left the game. No big problems that I could tell. I think most of them just weren't into it, myself being the biggest nerd among them. One of the players stayed, a complete newbie, and the campaign went on hiatus before I posted online to see if anyone else wanted to join the game. This was my first mistake. I got enough interest and had 4 new players join the game, but in my mind, it was the same game, since I didn't want to create more work for my only remaining player. I love her, she's an amazing player, an amazing role player, she's so enthusiastic, and after over 2 years of playing her character up to level 10, she still doesn't entirely know how to run it. Since I was including the new players in an extant campaign, I didn't necessarily think of doing a Session 0, especially since all of my new players were more experienced than me in tabletop role-playing games. As such, the tone of the campaign and PvP were never discussed. The new cast doesn't really matter, but I felt like I should be sharing this chaotic group of misfits, referred to by their class. Druid is my remaining player, an owlbear druid. Like, wait, she is always an owlbear? I mean, you know, good luck with that. Mech, a gnomish mech pilot class similar to Artificer Armorer but modular, played by my sibling who introduced me to D&D. Monk, a tabaxi monk, a friend who I was not super close to, but we had worked together on a few projects. Cleric, a dwarven cleric who later multi-classed into the warlock, friend from high school with whom I'd spent much time in the intervening 10 years. And Bard, a Knoll Bard and partner to the cleric, the only person I didn't know before we started playing. There's not really a problem player here. I'm the bad guy. We had been playing together for a few months, and all was going well. Although the characters were never really fully knit together, the players got along well enough, and we even managed to have one in-person game. We mostly played online since we were spread out across the East Coast. The party had gotten a lead of an assassin that they believe had killed their friend, an ally, a lizard folk, and were sitting in a tavern trying to decide what to do. Monk wanted to go after the assassin, but since I'm a shiesty DM, I dropped a hook from the druid's backstory into the tavern, a gang of owlbear hunters. Okay, so she is... Oh, there's just an owlbear in the tavern? Okay. The party threw down with the owlbear hunters, while Monk, frustrated with the lack of action, decided that this was not important and was going to run off on his own to find the assassin. The bard cast suggestion on Monk to make him stay, and they finished the fight. I allowed Monk to roll insight on himself to deduce what happened. A few days after the session, Monk messages me, telling me that he didn't like how that went down, and that he had been hoping for a more heroic campaign. At this point, I started listening to more D&D content, like yours, thanks by the way, but was more wary of metagaming and railroading than interpersonal concerns. So I asked if he wanted me to bring it up to the group above table, or if we wanted to deal with it in-game, as I thought that all of these concerns could easily be in-game concerns by his character, but could lead to a really good story moment. He said he would do it in-game, but didn't do so over the next few sessions. He told me he needed to take a break for some work stuff, so his character ended up kidnapped by the main villain, and the other players did other stuff for 3 sessions. When I brought it back up with him, once they rescued him, the villain dimension doored away and fled. The monk and druid gave chase while the others tried to stop them and regroup. Monk was captured, almost killed, and then only just managed to escape. After this, the player told me he didn't want to come back to the campaign, no doubt because he once again felt like the party didn't have his back. So not really a horror story, more just like a death by 1,000 cut situation. I should have had another Session 0, although I don't know that I would have talked about charming as PvP, sure as hell will now though. I should have gone above table with the discussion about the charm spell and should have realized it's never too late to have a discussion about game expectations. I travel a lot now, so the campaign is on for 3 months, off 3, and ever since this incident, I make sure to just check in with the other players about expectations, desires, etc. every time we go on break. I love my group, I'm so grateful, which makes me feel more guilty about letting Monk down. I submit myself for execution for the crime of skipping Session 0.
Oh, well,
In that case, this is Crispy number 2 to Crispy number 4. Do you have eyes on the target? Over. Copy, Crispy number 2. This is Crispy number 4. I have eyes on the target. Is the shot clean? Shot is cleaner than the baby's butt. That was, okay, that was weird. Anyway, take the shot, Crispy number 4. Copy. Executing target. Target down. I repeat, target is down. Another successful operation. Anyway, well, I know this advice is all redundant, considering the writer is now dead, but I was reading this and thought, wow, that's like super mild, but I realized that, I mean, this game lost a player, and if I lost any of my players, I would be bummed out about it. Look, I always talk about the importance of session zeros, but it's not a silver bullet. You can't predict everything that could possibly go down in a game. You could use all the Google forms and safety tools and discussions you want, but people are complicated and no tool can change that, and that's okay. That's why mid-campaign discussions are so important. Yeah, you probably should have talked about it above game, but frankly, I think some of this is also on the monk as well. The rest of the party was enjoying the quest that you were leading them on. It was just the monk who wanted to do something different, and sometimes that's going to be the way the dice fall. You're not always going to be doing the quest you want to do. Yes, the charm PvP, that's up in the air. In fact, if a charm spell is cast on another player without consent, I just don't let it happen. But with all that being said, I don't think you're a monster DM for this one mistake. Sometimes people are just not compatible. I've had a few horror stories when it comes to tabletop role-playing games, despite the fact I haven't played with many groups. Nevertheless, the one I always think of when the subject comes up just as the virus started up. Okay, side note, it seems like the lockdown turned all of you guys crazy. I swear, half my horror stories happened during that time. For me, that was the best part of my life. Like, my therapist told me that she was helping me to recover not from the lockdown, but from returning to talking to other people. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Anyway, during that time, our company hired a bunch of new call staff onto our system. This is, of itself, not a problem, of course. We needed as much help as we could get during this time. Essential workers and such. This is how we met our dungeon master. Let's call him Cole. Cole sent out an email to the entire office to see if anyone would be interested in a lunchtime D&D group. My friend, let's call him Jack, and I decided to sign up, and we were both craving some roleplay in the middle of all this. This would be my first group experience, as I had exclusively played one-on-one campaigns with my partner up until then. So, we ended up in this group with the following dynamic. Myself as the tiefling barbarian who used to work in a fighting arena but was as sweet as anything and refused to harm people unless necessary. Jack as the ASMR bard, who was part of a hidden clan of ASMR who were hunted down for some reason. The reason was never revealed. Sam, a dwarven rogue who honestly didn't have anything besides min-maxing and metagaming. John, a human cleric who kind of had a friendly beef going on with the dwarf for opposing views. And finally Josie, who played a human wizard. This was Josie's first experience with D&D, and she is where the main issue lies. We started playing a Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign with homebrew elements mixed in. Basically, we were just using the Forgotten Realms as a base map, and anything else we could work with Cole to implement. Before we started, Cole made sure to confirm our characters' genders. We all confirmed we would be playing characters that were reflective of our IRL genders. Now for context, I am a trans man. At this point, I hadn't started testosterone, but I was out and had told this to the group. Everyone knew I was a guy and would use he, him pronouns, and subsequently, so did my character. Everyone else was cis. Josie, however, did not seem to be on board. She would often refer to my character using she, her, despite this reminder. At first, I figured that it might be because my character's name was a little feminine. I called him Vanilla. Hey, vanilla ice cream is very manly. I love it! Okay, maybe I'm not the best example of a manly man who likes vanilla ice cream, but someone else does, okay? Look, at first I didn't care, but this just kept on happening. Shortly after a few sessions, Josie wanted to ask the group if her boyfriend, Dan, could join us. He is part 2 to the problem. Cole agreed, and Dan made an ASMR sorcerer. Cole explained the current lore in the world about them being hunted down when he made the character, how his character would fit into that. Dan didn't seem to care. He just played his character as someone who was constantly getting Jack's character in danger. Yeah, constant threat of assassination. No big deal! Sir, thank God I got here in time. We need to get you to safety. I'm about to take a whole bottle of drugs. What is it? Dude, are you serious? Okay. I have learned they're assassins coming after people like you, people of holy birth. We need to get you to safety and protect the rest of your kind as well. I don't care. What? I heard you, and you heard me. I don't care. And honestly, we should make it easier for the assassin to come after me. Yeah, you heard me right. I think we should make it easier. And hopefully... and too crispy. Hey dude, I was supposed to do that. Jack wasn't happy because it made playing with him nearly impossible. Still, we all progressed on, and I also found a familiar issue with Dan. He also referred to my character, and now me, with she, her pronouns constantly. So now I had both Josie and Dan misgendering me all the time. I was terribly shy about correcting people at this point, so I just quietly took it. Stupid mistake in hindsight, just kept happening. As the campaign progressed on, we came across a site where Jack's clan were slaughtered, and we had discovered the site. Jack clearly wanted to roleplay this out, and so did I. My character was naturally someone who wanted to comfort and support, so the two of us were progressing with this meaningful scene, only to be interrupted by Josie and Dan talking about how they want to loot all the bodies. Our roleplay got cut off extremely quickly, and I was rather annoyed, as this felt like a good method for our characters to bond. As Jack wanted to multi-class in the future as a barbarian, this would have supported it. But no, they just continued to talk over us and steamroll us. The session ended at a tavern, where one of the barmaids was hitting on a couple of the group, including my character. My character rejected the advances, mostly because he is a shy and reserved guy when it comes to that, and he hadn't even kissed anyone prior. When asked about it in roleplay, I explained this, and my character didn't care who he loved, i.e. he was bisexual. Little did I know the issue my bisexuality would cause. Well, the session ended, and we headed off into our own lives for another week. We had a group chat set up during this time, and for some reason, late that night, Dan decided to bring up being gay in a rather derogatory manner. He started complaining that LGBT characters were steamrolling their way into everything, and it's just justifying a mental illness. He even named me specifically for being trans. Bro, steamrolling? Have you seen that medieval chapel road performance? We're making things better! Watch, every paladin's gonna look like her for the next 20 years, and I'm here for it. Jack immediately stepped up to defend me. I hadn't seen the messages yet, and stated that Dan's opinions were unfounded and harmful.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Josie then stepped in to agree with Dan and accused Jack of white knighting me. This is when I joined the conversation and ended up having to defend Jack for sticking up for me and shutting down homophobia and transphobia. Cole then came in and told Dan and Josie to stop and educate themselves on how harmful their comments are. However, Dan started complaining that he missed Poland, his home country, because this stuff wouldn't fly there. Hey, what did we do to Poland? Asexuals, why are we invading Denmark? We should get Poland! Josie was agreeing and still calling me a woman, asking why I'd play a character who had such a feminine name if I actually cared. Well, DM Cole apparently called them both up and had a chat with them, and by the time the next day rolled around, they were both kicked from the group. I was feeling rather shell-shocked by it. All of it. I hadn't even spoken to the two outside of D&D, and I've never even met them in person, yet they were so against me being in the group. It was a weird experience, honestly. Thankfully, my group stuck it out by my side during it all and checked on me to make sure I was okay. Cole even apologized for not correcting Josie and Dan sooner on the pronoun thing, as he had initially noticed they were even doing it. But he learned from his experience and always made sure to refer to everyone correctly now. I'm sure Josie ends up quitting the group shortly afterwards too, so yeah, I've never even met her IRL. Our group continued without them for a few more months. I had to pull out due to personal issues, but we didn't have any issues aside from Sam's min-maxing after that. Yeah, shell-shocked, weird, those are good ways to describe a reaction to discrimination. I honestly don't get angry or upset when I notice that somebody is discriminating against me for racial or queer reasons. I usually get upset later on when I think back on it, but in the moment, I'm just confused. Like, why are you acting like this? Because discrimination, at a fundamental level, is illogical. It's stupid. Just like the people who believe in this stuff so wholeheartedly. These people weren't making a mistake when referring to you. They were doing this on purpose. But what really matters is how your friends reacted, because at the end of the day, when the cards were down, they got rid of the problem. That is a good thing to see. So often we see these stories go on for way too long. 3-strike system, all that crap. But sometimes the trash just needs to get taken out. I, 24 female or so at the time, had gotten a boyfriend, male, 34, for the first time after a crushing divorce. I guess my mind must have been clouded because my first session with a new table started with him, and I immediately could tell no one at the table liked him very much. He decided to play a rogue, and as a new player at D&D, he wanted to be that kind of rogue. Why do people make this look cool? What the matching no one's alignment, almost getting us into trouble everywhere, and tried to be funny about it at the worst times. I figured since he was new to playing, that was the issue. It was just a problem of how he was playing, so I tried to give him some pointers after the game when we got home. But the next session was palpable. You could cut the tension with a knife. So before we officially started, I took the DM aside privately and begged for a little lenience for him since he was a new player, and told the DM I did my best to explain the issues with last session and hopefully things would be okay this time around. The DM seemed a little hesitant, but I understood, so we all started playing again. Almost immediately I could tell that boyfriend wasn't exactly taking me very seriously, and when I looked over to him panicked, he told me, "Well, I'm only doing this because it was your dumb idea." Yeah, hanging out with friends and playing a game. Oh, what a dumb idea. So womanly, ew. I felt really panicked, anxious, defeated, and stunned all at once. After that, the DM was really nice, and we still finished out the session, even with him putting in no effort and effectively giving up. Later, after leaving, I messaged the group and apologized again. I couldn't believe that happened, and I was really embarrassed. The group messaged me back, and we just talked for a while. Only that day did I find out that they barely had a problem with him being a new rogue, and him messing with things here and there, but they were extremely upset about how he had talked after sessions, about how mean and disrespectful he was to me on multiple occasions. I guess after the last session, I never really noticed as much, but after that, I started picking up on what they were telling me. Very clearly after last session, they didn't want to invite him back, but they still wanted me to come. I felt really awful about the situation because I didn't want to leave my boyfriend out. I mean, like...
Hey, buddy!
I tried to talk to him later that week and explain how much the new campaign was starting to mean to me and how much I still wanted to go, realizing that this was going to be a very difficult conversation. He ended up being so mean to me during that conversation that I just knew my group was completely right about him. I broke up with him then and there and returned to my sessions the week after, where the party members literally wanted to celebrate. Unfortunately, I just wasn't exactly in the mood to celebrate, but I still understood where that was coming from. So that's it. I moved away, but I still stay in touch with those party members who became amazing friends. Yeah, I wanted to end off with this one because I like a wholesome horror story. Yeah, this boyfriend, he sucks. And while that little moment was a little moment, I mean, it says a lot, didn't it? Like, I'm only here playing this game with you because it's your stupid idea. Like, it's all good if you don't want to play Dungeons & Dragons, but just don't show up. Don't be a dick about it in public. But the fact that that's what he was willing to say in public, that was the alarm for the rest of the group, and they said something about it. I mean, that is such an important part. Look, the truth is, you're not going to be able to help everyone with their terrible relationships. Some people don't even want to be helped. But if you don't try, if you don't do anything, who knows what could happen? Saying something, saying anything might be the catalyst for some positive change, and that's what happened here. And you know, we love to see that. Hey, that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, you might enjoy the last time I did a fun intro last month. That time, I was making fun of Dr. Disrespect. Lots of fun. It's linked in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down into the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment. Good luck, babe, to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell. God, that pose is freaking hard to do. Oh my God.